Once again, Black women's contribution to the beauty industry is being overlooked and taken credit for. Now, if you're not in the know, let's catch you up.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, thank you so much for 500 subscribers. I truly appreciate every one of you. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do and join the family. Now let's get into the video.
The whole Painted by Esther, Patrick Ta situation, for me personally, is kind of like the reason that I'm a little scared to truly unlock my full potential, like creatively, artistically. Because what do you mean you're going to capitalize on another makeup artist and their techniques damn near verbatim and invent a product or a solution that really didn't have a problem to begin with? You know what the easiest way to achieve Painted by Esther's look? It's not a $400 blush routine. It's technique. A little bit thinking outside the box, and it's technique. You can quite literally formulate your own transition cream blush shade by taking a liquid blush that you already use with your lightest natural, like the brightest concealer that you own for your skin color, mix the two, pop it in the middle, there you go. I personally feel like there was no need for a transitional blush because it wasn't really a problem to begin with. Is that just me? But back to what I was saying, these situations make me particularly scared to unlock my full potential because I'm scared of getting ripped off. I've already been ripped off on here on TikTok plenty of times. The tape eye trend, I kind of popularized that. Nobody wants to fucking remember that. Transitions, words like glamsition. I've used that for years and years and years and years, and I've never heard anyone else use it. Not saying I made it a thing, but if somebody popularizes something, specifically Painted by Esther in her situation, why does it hurt to just give like a cent or two? If you see someone like Painted by Esther like just blowing up and like going on the rise and just she's everywhere, you can instantly recognize her work, right? The smarter thing for you to do is to have her be associated with your brand. No? Like, then you wouldn't have the backlash that you're having, right? And I feel like there's some popular, influential makeup people that have been in the game a really, really, really long time, and they think because they've been in the game a really, really, really long time, they have every right to coin techniques, phrases, terms, products, blah, 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 because they've been in the game a really, really, really long time. Like, that doesn't equate you inspiring a group of people to do a certain thing or technique or whatever. Like, blush blindness was already a thing, and I feel like Esther was like, no, but wait, make it cunty. Blend it out with your concealer. Take it right underneath your eye. And she made it like glamorous. And at the end of the day, the makeup community and makeup and beauty in general is like any other trend, any other thing where it was popularized a long time ago and it just kind of resurfaces, and because it's new generations, they think that it's brand new, but it's not. We recycle the same ideas over and over and over again. And that's not a bad thing. Her blush is very Kevin Aquan, and she's been very vocal in stating that she was heavily inspired and is still heavily inspired by Kevin Aquan. And just by the way that Kevin Aquan has responded to Esther, I'm like, wow, you have my respect, because like, who are you thinking that you're bigger than the program than to just give a proper credit? And that goes for everything and anything, especially with the track record and the history that Patrick Ta supposedly has. I don't know too much about it. I've heard things. I don't really care for his brand, and I don't really care to like dive into that part of makeup because it's just not a brand that appeals to me. So I'm good just not even kind of like being blind and not knowing what the fuck's going on over there, which this situation has forced me to like, hey, he's kind of problematic, I guess. I don't know. Is he? From what I've heard, yeah. But regardless of that, it's out of my price point. Could I afford it? Absolutely. Am I going to spend $400 on a blush routine? Fuck no. I don't know about you, but my love is still in the drugstore section, okay? They got great shit over there for the low, for cheap. So it's like one of those things where I'm not the target audience because I don't want to spend that kind of fucking money. It makes me sick to spend that kind of money on makeup. Like, it's just makeup. There's nothing revolutionary about it. So those are my 2 cents that nobody fucking asked for. I just felt like it was necessary to like reiterate that, hey, it's probably in your best interest to credit the people that you were inspired by, because then this shit won't happen. You know, you gotta start moving a little bit smarter than that. But what do I know?
is definitely giving profiting off the back of a black woman. Because I don't think it matters that Painted by Esther didn't invent this style of blush. What matters is the timing of it all, and I just think the timing of this is so convenient. Because the fact that Patrick Ta has been working on this blush for God knows how long, and he just decided to release it in this season at this time, right when Esther popularized the technique, and then right after that to release your tutorial showing how you get the blush application using a powder puff, right after Esther did it for Kostas, baby, it's giving you stole her technique. Because honestly, I would actually disagree with the fact that Painted by Esther did not invent this style of blush, because I've never seen anybody do it the way that she does it. Because a lot of people don't understand, to be able to do this blush look on people with deeper skin tones, it just takes a different level of skill, it takes a different level of technique, it takes a different level of innovation and invention. Because no, let's actually wake it up. The reason why this technique has become so popular for Esther is because nobody has been able to execute it on dark skin the way that she does. Because before Esther, a lot of the dark skin girls were afraid to put on pink blush because we just didn't think it could be that pigmented and that beautiful on us. And I really do believe that her execution of the technique is really what brought it to the public. Because even though artists knew about it, the public didn't really know about it. Like, truly watching Esther achieve these looks on deeper skin tones like Olandria, even though she's one of many that Esther has done, that changed not only the way I see blush, but the way the world sees it. It made it achievable for all. And my thing with Patrick is, like, as a fellow makeup artist, I feel like he should have understood how hard people have to work, especially black people in this industry, to even, like, get their foot in the door, to get their foot in the industry, to get something to stick. So the fact that Patrick tried to launch this idea as his brand new innovative campaign and not even mention Esther, no shade, is robbery. Honestly, Painted by Esther is such a creative genius in this space, and her innovation of this blush technique is honestly like in a lane of its own. And my good sis deserves her 10s. But I really want to know in the comments, what do y'all think?
I think everyone is losing their damn minds. Not everyone. Some people are losing their damn minds. But I just feel like this, which is unfortunate with this entire situation, is so unfortunate. And I think it's so important. And it kind of leads to another conversation of, like, just understanding business. Obviously, not all of us are brought up in certain types of households where you're so well informed on how to not only have something, an IP, and having, like, this structure of getting a lawyer, having things patented, having things trademarked, all these things, you know, it's upon us to, like, inform ourselves and make ourselves aware of these kinds of things. We can't be in a society or be in a world where it's like that's the second thought. Like, you don't think about that first. And I just hate how it just reminds me of a episode of Succession where it's like it's a dirty game. It's such a dirty game, but you have to be on your P's and Q's. And I just hate the way that this entire thing went down, because I feel like you've seen a loophole, you utilize that, and it's as effed up as it is. It's like, well, if you snooze, you lose type of thing. And I just hate how this has transpired. Obviously, it's creating a lot of division amongst the beauty community. This is more 2016 than I've ever seen it. But I do think that it's imperative to just, if anything else, it should be such a huge lesson about having your IP and knowing how to protect yourself. If anything else, I hope this is a great lesson for that.
Glow different this summer. The Vaseline Illuminate Me Body Butter and Glow Oil set is that combo. Deep hydration, radiant shimmer glow, perfect for melanin-rich skin. Moisturize plus glowing at the same time? Yes, please. Soft skin, shiny glow, all in one. Get it as a combo or separately at an affordable price. Link in the description below.
Once again, black women's contribution to the beauty industry is being overlooked and taken credit for. Now, if you're not in the know, let's catch you up. Painted by Esther is a Nigerian makeup artist who's gained notoriety over the last couple of years from her blush technique. It really blew up and hit the mainstream when she was doing Olandria's makeup for Love Island. The technique essentially involves taking your blush further under your eye and blending that with your concealer, so the transition between your concealer and your blush is seamless. For additional context, Painted by Esther has centered this technique on black women. Now enter Patrick Ta. Remember my emphasis on the word transition earlier? So the transition between your concealer and your blush is seamless. Well, Patrick Ta just trademarked and launched a line of transitional blushes with absolutely no credit to Painted by Esther. Needless to say, the beauty community is up in arms. Now, if you remember my video about e.l.f. launching an edge control and completely leaving black women out of the campaign launch, then you know I couldn't sit this one out. Because it happens over and over and over again. Black women's contributions to beauty, to society, to the freaking world is constantly overlooked. Now, some people are saying Painted by Esther didn't create blush and she didn't create this technique. And I can see why it's convenient for you to stop there. I mean, there's 1,000 grippy primers out there and 1,000 fixing sprays, and you don't see anyone arguing for ownership of those. But I would encourage you to remember that Painted by Esther is not a huge corporation. She is an individual makeup artist who has made this technique her signature and has completely influenced the entire beauty community with her technique. So no, she didn't create the idea of blush under your eye, but she is the reason that Patrick Ta has even bothered to come out with a blush that fits her technique. And then he trademarked it. Now, if the trademark passes, it doesn't give him exclusivity on the placement of blush, but simply on the term transition blush. So essentially, it's to stop competitors from selling products under the same name, essentially merging transition blush and Patrick Ta, which is absolutely insane to take what is essentially Painted by Esther's signature look and to trademark it so that she can never use the terms transitional blush. Huh? What? Do you see how that is insane? So not only has he taken away the opportunity for her to capitalize off naming her own blush technique, he also plans on raking in the money on the back of someone else's contributions. And I didn't even mention that he tried to have one of his cronies book an appointment with her so that way they could record how she applies her blush technique. So don't get it twisted, there was never a question about where he got this from. It was a question of whether or not people were gonna clock the bullshit. So now that you have this information, I hope that you move accordingly.
We're often imitated, but never credited for our trends and innovations. Okay, so have y'all heard about the whole Painted by Esther and Patrick Ta shebang that's going on? I don't want to call it an issue. I'm very big on choosing the right words, but honestly, let's get into it. When you think of that current blush trend, and you know which one I'm talking about, it's the one that all the girlies are doing for all the full glams and soft glam. There's one person in particular that always pops up, Painted by Esther. She is the inspiration behind why a lot of people use that placement, and specifically women of color, because she perfected it on women of color. Patrick Ta recently came out with a blush line. This particular blush line is very similar to Painted by Esther's whole concept in how to apply blush to get that Painted by Esther blush look. He did this and people found it very, very odd that she wasn't credited. Another issue that I'm finding here is that we're often imitated but never credited for our trends and innovations. And this dates back. As Black women, we have done so much and contributed so much to society. Our voices were often silenced simply because, for one, we were Black. Secondly, if not most importantly, because we were women. There's a video and she talks about how this is making her feel, and she openly mentioned about being nervous to speak up, and that should never be the case for us Black women. For the people that might say, oh, what's understood doesn't need to be explained, or she should just be humble, stop it. That's gaslighting someone into minimizing their worth under the disguise of being humble. You should always speak up for yourself, especially when you feel so strongly about being wronged, and set that boundary. And I think that's the important thing that people don't know to do. It's okay to say, ooh, I didn't like that, and to preserve myself, I'm going to make it very clear right now that this can never happen again. There's this whole social dynamic here on social media that people are way more comfortable with creators being inspirations rather than them openly saying hey, I created this trend. Not trying to be funny, but I kind of see why Soulja Boy be like, I was the first rapper to do XYZ. So many Black creators, Black women, we won't get acknowledged for the work that we put in, whether it's actual inventions to trends. People love to reap the fruit, but don't ever want to acknowledge the tree that the fruit fell from. What I'm hoping and praying for her is that her speaking up for herself more than anything enlightens her and gives her the constant courage to stand up for herself in any future settings. I think also too, as I get older, what you decide to support is also very telling of who you are as a person. I just wanted to share that with you all, because I feel like as a Black woman myself, things are so much more blatant when you're not ignorant to what's going on around you. And I really do feel like it's our job to protect ourselves and also be a village to other women and other Black women too, in a space where we're still not fully accepted despite what's being said, especially in the beauty space. It's more than just makeup. Just like life is just more than what's on the surface.
She should just start her own brand. Is not the exciting or encouraging suggestion that you might think it is. Let's talk about how beauty brands, especially influencer and artist-led beauty brands, are created and sustained in today's economy and market, and why even being a globally recognized influential makeup artist is still not enough to beat the metrics and to be above the program when it comes to raising venture capital as a Black woman. And why this story has really irked me and why I'm passionate about giving this context is because, as some of you know, I'm co-founder of a beauty company. I have raised venture capital. I have experienced some of this stuff firsthand. So first of all, there are financial partners and venture capitalists who will actively partner with people with existing platforms and communities to build brands. The logic is that the community and the influence they've built over time has translated to community and audience, and that translates to better distribution, faster scale, and brand awareness. So the first problem with this whole thing is that we know full well that the platforms themselves and the brands themselves are already biased against giving Black creators and influencers more opportunities. We know this. We know that audience translates directly to capital. And so that disparity creates an initial issue. It means that a venture capitalist could look at two very influential makeup artists. One has hundreds of thousands of followers and multiple different brand deals. The other has fewer. The other is a Black woman. Who do you think that initial funding and that initial startup capital is going to go to build a brand? You don't need to take my word for it. There are creators who I enjoy on the platform who have partnered with VCs. Imaginary Ventures is behind both POV Beauty, which is Michaela Nogueira's brand, as well as Real Actives, so Alex Earl's brand. And they are a VC based in the US. In contrast, Danessa Myricks self-funded her brand for years. Some of the beauty OGs we know, because we were in there in Guru Makeup Emporium trying on our color fixes, okay? Danessa Myricks has funded this brand for years. She only secured venture capital when Parity Collective, VMG Partners, came in. They are a Black women-led group who specifically were designed to give funding to Black women and people of color. So Danessa, with years of undeniable influence and impact and artistry, only got funding when a Black women group came to give her funding. For the sake of completeness, Patrick Tar Beauty was built with an incubator and then a few years later raised venture capital from a fund. Now, I'm going to say something that you might not want to hear. Our community over-indexes on ownership. We are so obsessed with owning 100% of something small. The difference in the story when you are able to raise large sums of venture capital earlier on in the journey is that you are able to afford to make mistakes. You can react to market pressures and shifts and changes. You can be more creative. You can explore more ideas. You can hire more. You can do more marketing. You have more runway to build the company. And more runway to build and sustain the company means that you are far more likely to build a bigger company that actually exists after like 5 to 10 years. And before you come for me about Dame Pat McGrath raising funding and not having the best outcome more recently, one thing we have to remember is that, first of all, that brand raised at the top of the market. Pat McGrath was valued at $1 billion. I would go as far as to say that her brand has been penalized from being at the top of the market, even more so than other brands of a similar kind, like Rare Beauty, for example. And when you are penalized, what it shows up in behind the scenes are historic investors not being so excited anymore, not being so convinced anymore, not wanting to give you more cash to figure things out, not wanting to give you more cash to explore new ideas. So you turn to facilities, you turn to debt, you turn to loans, and then when you file for bankruptcy, your biggest lenders buy you out. Now, I don't want to start any rumors here because I haven't actually sat down. I've not had the time to look through the filings and look at the balance sheets and whatever's publicly available. But I find it uncanny that the largest lender of this company is now the owner of the company. And by now, if you know me, you know I don't say things without looking at the trends. Adra Beauty to enter liquidation after a process where their largest lender took them to court. It has been an absolute nightmare to trade in the last couple of years as a beauty brand, especially a beauty brand in retail, because between the tariffs and between the cost of oil, your margins have been absolutely killed. But if your main source of capital is capital that you need to give back, that creates a time pressure that other brands who are able to raise VC just do not face. VC is a lot about traction and a lot about vibes. Black women structurally are disadvantaged on building traction. And then the vibes are, the the VC landscape is just not full of people who look like us. So we don't have a lot of the initial advantages that our counterparts would have. And that's what leads to a lot of biases and the disparity in the funding that we typically can attract. And so, yeah, I know the comments like, oh, she should just start her own brand and whatever. I know that they're well-intentioned. I know that they're well-meaning. But every time I've read it, I've kind of winced because I'm like, you don't even know what you're asking her to do in a landscape that already, even for her influence, hasn't paid her proportionately. So you now want her to take on an even bigger challenge? Like...
So this whole Patrick Ta and Painted by Esther controversy has marinated a bit more for me, and I have more thoughts. For me, what this all comes down to is that capitalism, consumerism is really the demise of makeup artistry itself. The definition of innovation has been completely dismantled. It doesn't even mean anything anymore because the beauty industry is so competitive, so saturated. There's literally billions of dollars involved that we are focusing on the wrong things. And speaking of innovation, I'll give you an example, okay? So Pat McGrath's latex glass skin for Maison Margiela was probably the only truly innovative thing we've seen in the makeup industry in the past 20 years at least, because I cannot think of a single artist who has done anything remotely close to that. But then when Pat McGrath Labs was in financial hardship and they were about to file for bankruptcy, people were criticizing her for not developing a product fast enough and capitalizing on that viral moment. She's also been criticized for not doing enough marketing for her brand, not putting out enough products or keeping up with market trends. But did it ever occur to anyone that maybe that's not the point? I don't think when Pat McGrath came up with the latex glass skin, she was thinking to herself, this is a great product to sell. I really don't think that's what drives her. I think she is a true artist and she wants to share her creative vision and genius with the world. So circling back to the Patrick Ta and Painted by Esther situation, I'm a little bit annoyed that so many people did not even know about Painted by Esther until this whole thing happened. I think her artistry and her vision and her influence should be appreciated and acknowledged regardless of who is selling a product. Now, this is not to defend Patrick Ta. There's a lot of nuances and overlapping layers to this whole situation. I do think the whole trademarking aspect of this is weird because even though he's only trademarking a single term and this blushing style or technique can be called a million things, but it's the perception that he is trying to claim something as his own that is not to be claimed. There is actually nothing wrong with these transition blush products itself. It's the marketing and the language and everything that has gone along with it. Because if he had collaborated with Esther, if he had even just said things differently, like if he had said, look, this is a blush style that a lot of people are doing right now. I'm just offering a product to make it easier for people to achieve. That's all he had to fucking say. But for some reason, he felt the need to go above and beyond and start copying not only another artist's work, but a Black female artist, which is problematic in and of itself. And now there's all these conversations about intellectual property, that Painted by Esther should have her own brand, which I don't know if that's the smartest move for her, if I'm being honest. Of course, I want her to thrive and get her money, but do we really need another makeup artist in our face every 2 seconds selling a product rather than talking about their artistry? Because essentially that is what has happened to Patrick Ta. I've been following him for a long time, long before he ever had his brand. And apart from his antics, he is a phenomenal artist. And so that's why I'm like, how and why did we get here? The whole thing has spiraled out of control. I still think that regardless of what Patrick Ta says or does, Painted by Esther has her own unique vision and style that cannot be touched. The merit of the body of her work should not rely on who is selling a product around it. Let's get back to makeup education, to appreciating artistry. There are tons of creators and makeup artists who do educational content on here, but y'all don't be watching their shit. You need to stop glorifying brands and products and start putting more
energy and time and focus into the creators and the artists that inspire us.
And I'm going to tell you why what Painted by Esther does is so important one time. Okay? And then I'm going to stop talking about this. This one goes out to my willfully obtuse bitches in the comments. Okay? Because you're pissing me off. We all live in planet Earth. And in planet Earth, unfortunately, there is something called racism. And racism touches everything the light touches and everything it does not. And in the makeup world, this is represented by the sheer fact that in the year 2026, there are multiple girls with beautiful, deep skin whose sole purpose on TikTok is to grab product from different brands that is being launched today and swatch it on their face and show you how fuck ass of a job that company did. That in the year 2026, do you know how racist you have to be as a company to want to make less money, to sit in the boardroom, have the entire product development cycle take place, and say, will this work for deeper shades? And the answer is no. And therefore, there is less people that will buy your product, and therefore less money that will go into your pocket, and you still say, I don't care about that. I just want to cater to people with a shade cut off. And that is why what Painted by Esther is doing is so impactful. Because it doesn't just clearly show the skill of a makeup artist, right? It shows resourcefulness. It shows an incredible eye for color theory. And it also shows a level of artistry that transcends the shitty fucking makeup landscape that we still live in to this day. That's why the technique is so revolutionary. And this, in part, is specifically to my Asian audience and to my white Asian obsessed audience. I still think that is a little weird. Because y'all have mentioned Doyen makeup, you mentioned Igari makeup. And I want you to think about the Asian market when it comes to beauty products, which you know because you consume it a lot. And I want you to think about the pigmentation that is required and acceptable to achieve Igari makeup and Doyen makeup. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And I also want you to understand that the placement for those things is very different than what Painted by Esther does. Okay? I believe Doyen, and I'll put some pictures here. Doyen makeup and Igari makeup are right here. It's a beautiful little cloud, a little kiss of color on very pale skin. Regionally, that makes sense. That's totally fine. What Painted by Esther is doing is a wall of color. It is an entire royal flush of color on deep skin. In my eyes, it looks like when you put a flashlight to your fingertip and you can see your skin be almost translucent. It is insane, video game level, flirty skin. I've never, ever seen that before. So to anybody in my comment section being like, this is technique that's been here for years. Sure, Kevin Aquan, who Painted by Esther has studied, right? They've all talked about putting blush up to here, but nobody has done it as an entire section of the face. And you bitches know that because you can see it. And the reason why that's so revolutionary is because it is not only done extremely well, it's done on the deepest skin. And that is an achievement in and of itself that is worth celebrating. Because in the year 2026, there are still Black women who go and buy product or attempt to buy product from a brand they want to support, only to A, not find their shade, B, get home with something that looks like it'll work and then it's fucking weird on their skin tone because it's not formulated with them in mind at all. being racist in your everyday life is one thing. Creating a product that is designed for the biggest audience possible and have it simply not work for an entire audience of people is consumerist torture. And it's fucked. And that is a big reason why this is so fucking important. Makeup is not just bullshit. Fashion is not just bullshit. Not to be all fucking Stanley Tucci and The Devil Wears Prada, but you live your life in that. You do. And if you don't, you consume that with your eyes. It means something, you know? It's not just Michelangelo painted something. Oh my God, we get to see it at the museum. No. It's your best friend painting her face and you looking at her all day being like, what the fuck did she do? She looks gorgeous. It's a stranger on the street and you being like, oh my God, everybody's normal and she's a goddess. But she's an everyday girl. How did she do that? Studying, thinking, acting, behaving, putting it into practice. Okay? Painted by Esther is not, it's not just some makeup artist. That's the thing. That's what you're not fucking getting. And this is why I hate anti-blackness so much, is because it pretends it exists in a world that is outside of this world. You know? And I don't mean to be insulting to my audience. I really don't. But some of you are really upsetting to read your comments and to listen to you. Because you remind me that I live in a world with willfully obtuse idiots who are literally just, whose version of progress is being colorblind. That's not okay. Okay? So anyways, shut the fuck up.
If you've made it this far, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.